and welcome and thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm Yvonne De Leon. I am an LVN. I've been a nurse now going on 24 years with my specialty in family medicine and the adult and geriatric population. I live in a little country town south of San Antonio called Floresville, Texas, if any of you know where that is. Me and my husband of 13 years live there. We are empty nesters and loving it. We have 13 acres with a pond full of fish and goats, and so we're just enjoying the country life. Um, I wanted to go over, nutrition, smoking cessation, all the good things that, we want to tackle on in the beginning of the new year. So with that being said, I will start the presentation. New Year Celebration 2026. It's a new year, new you. Focus on nutrition, smoking cessation. So why the new year, new you? The beginning of a new year represents psychological reset. Many people reflect on their habits, their health goals during this time. From a health perspective, this is a fresh start. Mindset is powerful because it helps people separate past behaviors from future choices. So instead of focusing on what didn't work before in the new year, it allows individuals to mentally say, I'm starting again. And that's okay to always start again. This reset can reduce guilt, increase confidence, which are critical factors in successful behavior changes, especially for lifestyle
Could you
habits like
change
nutrition.
slides?
Oh, my apologies. Let me get that. So, our objective by the end of the session, understand the role of nutrition in overall health, learn health impacts of smoking, of benefits of quitting, identify practical strategies for healthier eating, and explore tools and resources to support smoking cessation. A little quote from T.S. Eliot, every moment is a fresh beginning. So, like I said, always starting new and fresh, and even if it's multiple times, it's okay. So, why a new year, new you? So, fresh start mindset, motivation is often the highest at the beginning of the year. Small changes can lead to big results. And the new year isn't about perfection, it's about progress, intention, and taking that first step toward better health. Research shows motivation tends to peak during life transitions. So that's like your New Year's, your birthdays, major milestones. People are more open to learning, more receptive to health information, and more willing to try new strategies. And my apologies as I'm navigating this system. The power of lifestyle choices. Did you know nutrition and smoking are two of the biggest modifiable risk factors, both directly affect energy, mood, and long-term health? So with that being said, adding some small nutrition changes that we can do that are real simple are just adding one extra serving of fruits and vegetables a day, replacing sugary drinks with a watery or unsweetened beverage a few times a week, choosing whole grains instead of refined grains when possible. Those are all little small, modifications that we can do. And my apologies, I lost my notes. Let me reopen. My apologies. My side of my notes froze up, Heather. My apologies. Let's see, let me reopen. Goodness. Okay, well, it won't open. It's frozen, so I will just go to the next slide and we will discuss. So back on the small changes that we can do, like I said, we could just do some small modifications, going and adding in the fruits, the vegetables, replacing those sugary drinks. I know I was bad at this with sodas, so I would swap those out with maybe like a flavored water or adding, fruits. They have the infusers that you can add now to your water drinks to give that little bit of sweetness if that's something you need. Choosing whole grains instead of refried grains when possible, like switching your white flour-based pasta with a whole grain pasta. So little changes you can do like that. Eating regular meals to prevent energy crashes. And I know that's, one of the biggest struggles with the working population is trying to get in, your meals. A lot of us are on the go, we just grab whatever, or we just skip meals. And that's one of the, worst things that we can do. We want to get some sort of nutrition into our body, and it keeps our metabolism going. Paying attention to portion sizes rather just eliminating favorite foods. So, it's all about that modification. You enjoy going out to eat. You can get still your favorite burger and fries, but maybe start off by just eating half the burger and half the fries. You don't take away completely those foods that you enjoy, because then that will lead to maybe overeating and overindulging. Including a source of protein at each meal to support your energy and fullness. So I want to make sure that we have a protein source with every meal. It could be, with a piece of chicken, fish, lean beef. You want to start with those. I know also that's been real popular are the protein shakes. Those are okay to start your day with. If that's something like you're just not a breakfast eater, definitely then start maybe with a protein shake. But let's look at those, the sugar content in that, because we want to make sure that it has a low sugar, low carb ratio to the protein, because then you're just taking in that sugar and then it defeats the purpose. But those are real good if you like doing iced coffees, mixing those in. So those are good things you can do. Prepping at least one home cooked meal. If you're, like to go out, grab food on your break, or, it's just been a crazy busy day. So it's like, I'm just going to swing by, Bill Miller's and pick up some food. And you do that on a regular basis, maybe taking one of those days away and focusing on just preparing a home cooked meal. And then as you get into that habit, you can add more and more days to that. So those are little small changes. You don't ever want to just jump into it and going, I'm just going to do it all, because more than likely, you set yourself up to not succeeding, and we want you to succeed. And it's okay if you have to reset. Even these small change adjustments can improve energy levels, stabilize your blood sugar, and support your heart health and improve digestion. Um, yeah, the fast food industry just pushes, it's very affordable, it's quick, but it just has a lot of negative benefits for us that I mean, a lot of negative outcomes for us we don't want. Some of the things that we want to take a look at, is reading our labels. Do we really know what's in the products that we're eating? Take time to look at that, and you'll be really surprised what is in there. High sugar, and it can be misleading. It's under fructose, sucralose, all those loses, are not good. The fat content, the carbohydrates, are very high. And it can get kind of confusing. It's like, well, this fad says, oh, let's do intermittent fasting. This is great. Or, and then it tells you don't skip meals. Eat this, not that. So a lot of it can just be very confusing. You want to do what's best for you and your lifestyle. And, there's definitely resources out there that can help you make a plan specific for you. So next we have a breath of fresh air. Um, I don't know. I know one of the biggest health, changes that people want to make for the new year is stopping smoking, stopping vaping, and it's, very difficult. Um, there's, resources out there. Let me find so I can open up my information on that. So again, it's about those small changes for reducing, quitting smoking. Delaying the first cigarette of the day for 10 to 30 minutes. Reducing daily cigarette intake to maybe 1 or 2 cigarettes per day. Identifying and avoiding one common trigger, such as smoking after meals. Replacing smoking with a healthier coping strategy like deep breathing or walking. Using nicotine replacement therapy to gradually reduce dependence, and setting a quit date and working toward it gradually. Choosing smoke-free environments whenever possible. And I know, with the ordinance in Bexar County, that's now more easier to do. You can actually not have to worry about going into facilities and people are smoking. So that is very helpful. Um, Other ways to help manage the quitting of the smoking, gradually lower, your nicotine strength. Avoid, the chain smoking. See what are those triggers that are causing you to want to smoke. And maybe, trying to find alternative, things you can do to avoid those triggers. Um, Change routines if you have a certain routine or a pattern that you see that, you know, um, like for my husband, for instance, he's on this battle right now. One of his thing is after dinner, he has to have a cigarette. So now he's incorporated, well, he's going to go for a walk on the treadmill because he ties that after dinner with the cigarette. So little modifications like that, changing up a routine, can help. Replacing a habit with maybe like sugar-free gum, the mints, crunchy snacks to help, with those oral cravings. There's deep breathing, mindfulness, techniques, relaxation techniques that can help if it's like a stress, trigger. Keeping your hands busy. A lot of, smokers like to, it's that having it in your hand fixation. So having like maybe a stress ball or one of those little widgets, a pen, anything in there to help, fill that need to have something like in your hands instead of a cigarette. Um, the health impact, you see what this is. The substitution of healthier behaviors helps break a habit loop. So, working towards that will help break that bad habit. Build towards quitting, set a realistic quit reduction goal. Don't, same with like the nutrition and us, trying to lose weight. Let's set a realistic goal. It's not going to be like, oh, in 1 month, I expect to lose 50 pounds, or 1 month I expect to completely quit smoking. Some people can do it, but we want to set ourselves up for success. So let's, create a realistic goal. Does anybody have any questions right now in regards to this or even on the nutrition piece? Okay. Let me go to my
Not at
next.
this time. It doesn't look like. If you have
Okay.
questions throughout, you can place the questions in the chat as well.
Thank you. Another health impact, reducing smoking even before quitting completely can improve circulation, your breathing, your energy, and lower your risk of heart disease. There is Ash Care. There's a link there, and this can assist. They have some resources to help assist with, quitting smoking. So definitely, if you want to look into that, there's resources. Another, big thing we see is the vaping. Kind of goes, hand in hand with the smoking. It's the nicotine. Um, Again, with like the smoking, you want to, reduce the frequency gradually. Delay the first vape session by 10 or 30 minutes. Reduce the number of vape breaks taken during the day. Um, Even reducing frequency can improve breathing, concentration, and nicotine dependence. Manage that nicotine intake. Like with the cigarettes, gradually lower that nicotine strength in the vape liquids. Track how often you are vaping and avoid, chain vaping by setting time limits between use. Lower nicotine exposure reduces the dependence and withdrawal intensity. And the same with the smoking. Replace that with the habits of like sugar-free gum, mints, crunchy snacks, again, deep breathing, exercises, and substituting healthier behaviors help, break this habit loop that we tend to recycle. Let me see here. Trying to get to my pages. Let's see. My apologies for the I'm trying to open up my thing again. Oh my goodness. I did have a question that someone submitted. This is back on the nutrition piece. Their question was, what are some ways to help target belly fat? On that, it's going to go back to, eating a balanced diet, focusing on your whole foods, your veggies, your lean protein, healthy fats, avoiding those processed sugary and refined carbs. Another big one, and I'm guilty of not following this as well, is increasing our fiber intake. As you increase your fiber intake, that helps keep you more sustained and full, and it helps keep your digestion functioning properly, and that helps, reduce some of that belly fat that we tend to accumulate, especially, in women of my age, we tend to, that's one of our trouble areas. So that tends to help. Doing some cardio. You don't have to get all crazy with the cardio. Just doing a brisk walk. Um, Jogging, if you like to jog, cycling, swimming helps burn calories. Strength training is a big one. Just doing, you can even just do the bands, or even if you're like sitting sedentary, the bands while you're at your desk, you can do those, standing up a couple of times. There's things that you can incorporate, while you're at work, and it doesn't take a lot. Um, Try to reducing stress. I know that's a big, big, hard one. But when we feel those stress levels starting to increase, maybe that's when we can incorporate, you know what? I'm going to go take a 5 minute brisk walk. And it helps, get those endorphins going, maybe calm the mind. And then you also got to walk in. So those are things that help too. Getting enough sleep, that's another one that a lot of us struggle with. But making a point, at the evening where it's your time, start winding down, and just try to get that sleep in. That, alone will have big benefits. Staying hydrated, being busy, working, it's very hard to stay hydrated. You have those Stanley cups and the big tumblers that are popular. So find one that you love, fill it up in the day, and try to set a goal of drinking. You want to at least do two. That's your 80 ounces. And that alone, too, you'll see an improvement in your skin, your digestion, the belly fat will actually, your tummy will start trimming just by doing that. Cutting back on alcohol. Alcohol turns into sugar, and then that it doesn't help. I mean, I'm sorry. It tends to accumulate in our belly area. And just kind of be consistent, with it. And you can see, a difference with that. Another question that came in, which was a really good one also, was for women aging gracefully, what are vitamins that we can take? And I myself, I'm a young 50, so vitamins are a very important part of my life, as we transition to another stage of our life. Vitamin D is very important. It supports our bone health, especially for women. As we age, we lose that bone density, and we're, higher prone to osteoporosis, which, leads to a whole nother problem. So, incorporating vitamin D with the K2, especially because with the K2, that helps transport and absorb that vitamin D and keeps it within our bones. So that's a good one. If you don't get it, through um, your nutrition, definitely supplements can help. And majority of people in the United States, we're deficient in vitamin D. Calcium is another one. It helps, maintain stronger bones, especially as we age, we lose that bone density, and more of us are in a sedentary lifestyle. So that can, lead to affect our bone strength. Vitamin B12. That's another one that we see a lot of people are deficient in. And vitamin B12, is vital for our energy production, our cognitive function. And as we age, absorption of the B12 can decrease, leading to fatigue and brain fog. And, that's a complaint across the board for a lot of us. Magnesium is another huge one, and I know there's a lot of advertisement on magnesium, and there's so many different types of magnesium. You have the magnesium, for sleep. You have magnesium for digestion, magnesium for stress. So you definitely need to see which type of magnesium are you looking for what issue. And of course, with any supplements that you take, definitely discuss with, your provider, to make sure that there's no contraindications with, your certain health conditions or any medications that you're on. You don't just want to go and say, oh, well, my friend's using this and this is great, so I'm going to go jump on that. You got to be kind of careful, just because everybody's different and may not need these extra vitamins and minerals. So definitely check with your provider first before just going out and taking additional supplements. Omega-3 fatty acids, another important one. It supports our brain health, our heart health, inflammation control. Omega-3s are particularly important in reducing inflammation that can result from sitting for long periods. And again, that goes back to with your fluid intake of water. If you keep hydrated, and that's going to help reduce, that swelling that you get in your legs, maybe if you're sitting for too long, and the omega-3 also will help with that. Also, there's turmeric. Turmeric helps with any inflammation and swelling you may be feeling. So that's real good with that. Ginseng and green tea. Those are really good supplements also too that helps with, that water retention that we may have just from being sedentary. Another important supplement, vitamin C. It's an antioxidant that supports, immune health, skin health, our collagen production, which can be affected by aging. Another one that you see in the market a lot too, pre and probiotics. It helps with our gut health. Everything kind of starts in that gut. If things are not working or balanced correctly in the gut, it tends to affect us all around. We'll see the inflammation, we'll see the joint pain, digestive issues. So, you can definitely look into a pre and a probiotic. With the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium, I don't have the exact, I know they like to do, there's a certain amount of microns that they want in there. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head what it is recommended, but definitely, look into that. Coenzymes, the CoQ2, is a powerful antioxidant that supports heart health and combats fatigue. And as we, age, that tends to decline. You see a big decline in your CoQ2. Vitamin E supports our skin health, our heart health, and reduces oxidative stress. It also helps maintain healthy circulation, which can be a concern in sedentary roles. Again, back on the hydration, hydration. I can't, stress that enough. You will see so many benefits from that. And just, doing movements, getting up, doing a little brisk walk in between work, that will help too. But again, always talk with your healthcare provider, before just going out and starting a supplement. Let's see. Else we have. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
There's definitely a lot of resources available to us. And I know y'all see all the ads for, I mean, you have your Jenny Craig's, your what's the other one? Weight Watchers, mental health. There's the, Better Help. There's just so many resources available to us that you all can, definitely use those resources. Go to your healthcare provider. See if they have, a nutritionist that's available. There's smoking cessation programs. You can utilize, Ash Care, or get with your employer, your EAP, see what benefits and resources are available to your specific employer group. There's apps that you can, download to your phone to help, track your progress. There's like for the nutrition, there is the MyFitnessPal. That's free. They do have a paid version of it that goes into a little bit more. But you can utilize the free one. And that's just like inputting your daily food. It actually will let you put in any like your snacks. You can link it to, if you have an Apple Watch or the other Fitbit, you can link it to that and it will monitor your steps. You can set a goal in there for how many calories you want to burn for the day. And then you can check it at the end of the day to see if you met that. And then you can always adjust it as you progress. So it's a real good little free app to utilize. You can, and it has like the extended where you can pay and it goes into like actual nutrition and you can utilize their nutritional services through there. There's nutrition professionals. We have JTA Wellness that's available to you all. They have, nutritionist on there that you can work with. They will set up a meal plan, a meal program for you. You have dietitians to talk to, and they really, I've utilized them myself. They really listen to you and want to know what are your triggers, what modifications, they can recommend, and they check in with you weekly and to see, okay, how are you progressing? What's working? What's not? What do you feel we can change? So it's definitely very friendly, user friendly, makes you feel comfortable, a good go-to source. Again, you have employee wellness within your employee groups that offer specific programs, discounts for gym memberships. So definitely look into that for your resources. Um, and just remember, everything is a day by day, it's a work every day. And if you fall back, it's okay. Tomorrow's always a new day. You can restart fresh. And it's going to be an up and down thing, but it's something you can do. You can be committed. You can do it. We're here to help. There's people out there to help, and, you know, you got this. And I will conclude to that. I wanted to go a little bit longer, but my note piece just will not open. So, but I would love to take any questions if anybody has any questions that I can answer, or if you can send to Heather. Do they have an option to email you any questions after this presentation, and I can get back with them on?
They can if they want. If a question comes up when I email you the recording, you can always send any additional questions that may come up, and I can send those over to Yvonne. If you
Yes.
have questions now, you can post those in the chat. But yeah, if you do have something that comes up later, you can always send those over to us.
Yes, definitely send them over, and I'll be glad to get that information over to you, or get any resources over to you that can, help you, because that's what I'm here for. With that being said, I know I'm concluding a little bit early. My apologies. But I thank you so much for taking your break time to spend with us, and learn about this. We will have additional topics coming up that we would love for y'all to join.
Yeah, so speaking of additional topics, the next one that we have is on February 18th, and it's on immunodisorders. And it's at the same time from 12 to 1. So that should be going out to everybody. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys can pre-register for that as well. And other than that, if there are no other questions, that will conclude our presentation, and we greatly appreciate you guys joining us today.
Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day.